Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Oulton Park for round number 2 of the 2019 JCW Mini Challenge. We had one race already earlier on this morning for the newer generation F56 JCW Minis, and that was a cracker. We're expecting more of the same over the course of the next 20 minutes. Round number 2 of the championship. It's a reversed grid, or a partially reversed grid. The top 6 finishes from race 1 are flipped, meaning that Lee Pattison and Max Bird make up your front row. Callum King and Jack Mabin share the second row, with the top 2 from the first race, Nathan Harrison and race 1 winner James Gornall, alongside each other on row number 3. Then the unlucky man that just missed out on the grid reversal is number 777 Keelan Dole. Alongside him, Dan Zelos. They'll share the 4th row with Richard Newman and Jacob Andrews to round out the top 10. Second encounter at Oulton Park. Callum Newsham and Lewis Gayler are next. Callum, son of Dave Newsham, former British Touring Car Championship race winner. Harry Gooding and James Lukes are on the 7th row together, ahead of Tom Rawlings and Josh Stanton on row number 8 of a 26-car entry for the season opener here at Oulton Park. Jorge Collado and James McIntyre next, and Matthew Wilson, who's graduated from the VW Cup. He's got Neil Trotter alongside him, rounding out the top 20 starters, ahead of Steve King, Jack Davidson, Lewis Brown, one to watch for. There were a few non-finishers, 4 in total from the previous race, and Lewis Brown, arguably the highest profile of them, because we expected Lewis to be up there fighting away for race victories. He was 4th on the grid in race 1. If he'd have finished there, he would have equalled his previous best finish in the championship from last year at Rockingham. Sadly, he was off and out of the race early on, so keep an eye on the number 39 car, Lewis Brown, from 23rd on the grid. Ben Palmer started 7th in race 1 and was a non-finisher, so they will start together. And Rory Cuff started 8th, but had made progress in the early exchanges, only to find himself off-road as well. So Rory had it off at the very first corner, having made a good start. Then got tagged and spun into a spin into the barriers. Sadly, his race was over before it really began. Hopefully, all 4 of our non-finishers from the first race are out there. There is a possible question mark surrounding Stuart Gibbs, whose car didn't get going at all at the start of the green flag lap for race 1. So we'll see whether or not he is going to be able to take the start for the second race of the day. He'll be right at the tail end of the field. In front of the field, though, Lee Pattison, the very experienced, multiple race-winning Renault Clio driver. He's the red and black car on the left-hand side of the screen. The white and pink and blue of Max Bird alongside him, who has graduated from the Ginetta GT5 Challenge, so he's still on the same British GT and Formula 3 race package, but in a very, very different machine. Now, from rear-wheel drive to front-wheel drive, and these things a tad heavier than a Ginetta as well. The racing, though, equally as close, as these mini touring cars get set for 20 more minutes of racing around the Oulton Park International Circuit. Lee Pattison and Max Bird make up the front row. The lights are out. Away we go. The rush towards Old Hall Corner begins, and Lee Pattison's made a stormer for pole position. A slow away for Max Bird, though, and so diving to the inside of everybody comes Callum King, and Callum King from absolutely nowhere will lead, and unfortunately Lee Pattison gets elbowed out onto the grass as they go through Old Hall Corner, and may possibly actually have a problem, I'm afraid, the pole sitter. So it will be Callum King that leads the way. It's Max Bird in second place. They make their way through the left-hander at Cascade, but there is the slow car, and Lee Pattison sees his hopes of a victory or even a podium dashed immediately. Down the lakeside straight they go, and another move being made up the inside there towards Island Bend. Was that James Gornall, our race 1 winner? I think it was. He always has been a good starter, and he's into second place now. Jiggy, the 2008 British GT champion, is into second place from 6th on the grid. Nathan Harrison, who was 2nd in the previous race and therefore started 1 place ahead of Gornall, I think he hasn't even gained any spots. I think he's still in 5th position as they head through Britain's for the first time. Yes, he is. He's the first of these sort of green and white cars. The second of those, a couple of places back, is Dan Zelos, who finished 8th in the previous race. But at the head of the field, James Gornall is ominously looming in the mirrors of the very rapid starting Callum King. Bit of a lock up there in 3rd place from Max Bird as they turn through his box for the first time of asking. There, the number 16 car makes a move. That's Callum Newsham going up the inside towards his locks and gaining a place at the expense, by the looks of it, that was of Jacob Andrews, the green number 19 car. Behind them both is the 77 of Lewis Gayler. The leaders, though, at Druids, nose to tail between Callum King, who it was a decent launch from the line. He's on the grass. Callum King on the grass. Will he hold on to the race lead? Yes, he does. He'll have lost momentum, though. He'll have dirt all over his tyres as well. This could be Gornall's chance. No, not close enough, though, into Lodge Corner. So Callum King, who I was about to make the point. It got an average getaway, but then was just super late on the brakes into Old Hall Corner and seized the lead up the inside line. Very neatly threw it away at Druids. He's under pressure again now towards Old Hall Corner as James Gordon looks to the outside line on the way in, not hoping to go right around the outside, but instead hoping to cut back to the late apex and carry good momentum alongside the race leader down the lakeside, down the avenue, excuse me. Can't quite get to the right-hand side though. There's a bit of a lock-up from the leader though. Callum King feeling the pressure here. Track position is at a premium here at Oulton Park. It's not easy to overtake, but I think the overtake is exactly what James Gordon's about to do. He's up the inside down towards Lakeside Corner. It's brave and risky to run side by side through here though, and James, who knows that he's going to be a championship contender this year, I think that much is evident immediately, realises that he will probably have a safer opportunity to make that move stick a bit later on, and decides against sticking the nose fully up the inside through the fastest corner on the circuit. So Callum King still, Max Bird still in third place. Jack Mabe in fourth. Is the only driver inside the top dozen who did not change his position on the first lap. He started fourth, he is still in fourth place. Everybody else around him either gaining or losing ground on the opening lap. Lewis Brown, by the way, from the back of the grid, gained 8 spots into 15th, so we'll check in with Lewis if we dare take our eyes away from the lead pack at some point during the race. But Lewis Brown is making rapid progress towards the top 10. Whether he'll trouble the top 5 or not is doubtful, but he'll be after as many points as he can possibly get here in this first weekend of the year. So underneath the pedestrian bridge at the top of Gley Hill they go, and it's sort of a leading group of 2, 4, 6, 7 of them really, back to Dan Zelos in 7th position. You get the feeling that James Gordon is definitely quicker here than Callum King. They both keep it on the black stuff this time through Druids, but King was again a bit slow off the turn, and if anything Gordon is even closer now than he was a lap ago. He sends it round the outside line. This could end in tears. He's going to try and go right round the outside of Callum King, who leaves him just enough space, 2 wheels on the dirt for Jiggy. He's got to try and get back in line, of course, before Max Bird sticks his nose at the inside towards Old Hall Corner. Get back in line he does though, so it is still going to be King that leads the way. Gordon second, Bird third. Gordon with an earlier apex there at Old Hall Corner. Well, he tried the late apex a lap ago and that didn't work, so I suppose he had to try something different this time, but you can see visibly the speed that it loses him on the exit of the corner, and so Max Bird is now right on his tail, and then so too is Jack Mabin, the black and red car in 4th position. Then it's Nathan Harrison, runner-up in the championship last year, who had a disastrous time of it here at Oulton Park 12 months ago, where he had an 18th place and a non-finish, so things already going more according to plan for him with a 2nd place in the previous race, but he'll be a bit frustrated no doubt that he hasn't quite made the progress of James Cornell in the early stages, and he'll be keen to try and get back onto Cornell's tail here before too much longer, and certainly before James unlocks the door and takes the race lead away from Callum King, if indeed he can. He certainly seems to have the pace to do it, but prizing that door open often takes a little bit of work, as we've seen all day long in the various races here today at Oulton Park. Overtaking is not easy. It often relies on a mistake from the driver in front of you, and that mistake I thought may have come there for Callum King, because he snatched the brakes as he turned into his lops, gets the car slowed down, really slowed down through the middle of the chicane. That stacks Gornell back up into Max Bird in 3rd, and the rest of them filing in behind. I don't think it'll be too long actually before we have the 8th place car, Richard Newman, on the back of this group as well. Richard at the start of the lap was about a 2nd behind them, changed for 3rd place there. That's Jack Maben up the inside of Max Bird at Druids, which is not something I expected to be saying. It's a difficult place to overtake there, often can lead to contact, but he made the move stick, and behind him there's some shuffling going around because Nathan Harrison has got Keenan Dole going around the outside of him and the outside of Max Bird. Max says not on your life, and shovels him back over the curb on the exit of Lodge Corner, and that could allow Harrison the opportunity to get back alongside him. They're wheel to wheel across the start finish line, the top 4 cars single file, but Nathan Harrison trying to fight back up the inside for 5th place and will do it, and Dan Zelos sees his chance to get up the inside of Keenan Dole as well, and Dole is elbowed out over the grass, bounces his way back on, and I think that Newman will go through as well. Not quite, so Newman, the white car with the red flash across the front, is the next car in the queue, and almost close enough to take advantage of that. What of Lewis Brown? He's now 13th place, so he's inching towards the top 10, and because the bulk of the top 10, or at least the top 8, are sort of queuing up behind Callum King, he could actually be set to gain some real points out of this. There, he caught a glimpse of the yellow machine there, Lewis Brown going into Island Bend. This could actually turn into a half-decent race for him. Through the very quick left-hander they go, onto the brakes, through the Shell hairpin, and there is Lewis going to the outside line, or attempting to, at Shell. So who will that be? That will be the 19 car, won't it, in front of him. That is Jacob Andrews, the next man on Lewis Brown's hit list. There's a yellow flag I see in the background, why I know not, but presumably someone's had a moment at either Ireland or Shell. At the head of the field, though, this is turning into a typical mini-challenge reversed grid race. It's all out for every point you can get here. There's Lewis Brown, and you see, actually, in real estate terms, he's not a million miles behind the lead group, is he? He officially was only 6.7 seconds off the leader. The trouble is, there are 11 cars separating himself from the race leader. Now, he should, over the remaining just under 13 minutes of the race, be able to pick a few of them off, but how many? That is the question. Can he possibly get into the top 5? Well, the rate they're going, there may not be a top 5 left before too much longer, because there was a bit of contact there, I think, going through Druid's corner, as James Gordon was much quicker through the middle of the turn than the race leader. He's going to try this outside line again, but Callum King is always going to show him the edge of the road on the exit of the corner, and Gordon has to be careful because Jack Maben is not far behind, and Jack gets up the inside line as they come across the start-finish line, down towards Old Hall corner, and Jack Maben read the situation beautifully and executes a really nice pass on the race 1 winner. So, into second place, or is he? Because he's wide out of Old Hall corner, so Gordon will carry much better speed down the avenue. The inside lane covered, though, at Cascades, and Jack Maben starting now to mount a race victory bid, potentially. He's into second, and he does seem to have good pace. He's a bit sluggish off Cascades again, though, so Gordon will try to fight back if at all possible, but that was all born out of Gordon's attempt to go around the outside of Lodge, and knowing the risks that were involved, he got elbowed out over the... well, not elbowed, there was no contact, but he was eased over to the edge of the road, lost traction on the exit of the corner, and Jack Maben needed no second chance to take advantage of that, and through he went. So the order is Callum King leading the way. Off, unfortunately, is George Collado down at Knickerbrook, and that car appears to be fairly well beached in the gravel trap. I sense a possible safety car, which would be a real shame because it would put this battle on ice. Let's hope the marshals can either get it out of a dangerous position, or it's decided that it's far enough off the circuit to already be out of a dangerous position. Issues, though, for Max Bird. He gets eased over the grass. He'd already lost a bit of ground on this lap because he was down to about 6th or 7th, and there is a possible problem. There's a definite problem because he's not even trying to rejoin. So Max Bird, that's a shame. Early podium contender, pulls off down at Knickerbrook, which is turning into a bit of a mini car park now, with 2 cars stuck down in that part of the circuit. One of them definitely out of danger, though, and that is the Max Bird car. It's down the escape road. It's unlikely to trigger a safety car. The same, unfortunately, cannot be said of George Collado's car, because the clerk of the course has taken the decision to bring the safety car out, and I don't think that Jack Maben has seen the boards yet, or maybe the boards aren't out. Either way, he's got around the outside of what appeared to be a slowing Callum King. Now, will Callum, they're racing back to the line, but the flags are definitely out there. Saw that one out. Where were the first safety car boards? Because they raced to the boards, and well, there you can see that actually Maben has allowed Callum King back through. So we often see that situation where the drivers are so engrossed in their battling they don't always notice the boards at first, and if the leader spots them and the cars behind are unsighted, it can sometimes trigger a chain reaction where the leader slows and the rest of them don't. Thankfully, they avoided that situation there, though, and Callum King is reinstated as the leader. This is... oh, it wasn't at Knickerbrook, I beg your pardon. It was actually at Cascades that George Collado had gone off. By mistake. From that angle, it looked a bit like the exit of the chicane, but no, it's the high-speed left-hander at the bottom of the hill. That is the Knickerbrook corner in the Hislop chicane area of the circuit, and that's where Max Bird has parked up, with Mechanical Gremlins, unfortunately, taking the early front-runner out of the race. Now, that will require a tow, possibly backwards through the gravel track rather than forwards. That may take a couple of laps, which means we're realistically looking at a 5-minute dash for the cash, I reckon, at the end of the race. A shame, because, as I said, I was really rather enjoying that lead battle, as I'm sure everyone else was, but safety first. They have to get the car out of the way. If one car can go off there, apparently unaided by the looks of it as well, in the shape of George Collado, then another car could go off as well, and the last thing you want is for cars to be colliding with stationary cars in gravel tracks. That sort of thing is not good at all, so they'll get the car out of the way as soon as they can, and the hard-working British marshals who have been stood outside in baking hot weather today, all day, and all day on Saturday as well, and many of them may well have been here helping out during pre-event testing on Friday, so it's been a long, hot weekend in their fireproof overalls, and without the Orange Army we couldn't enjoy motor racing like this. So our most heartfelt of thanks to all of the volunteer marshals who are here this weekend. They do this for the love of the sport and nothing else, and they get a decent view, I guess, don't they? A real hands-on experience, but it's hard work, and there you can see the sort of thing that they have to do, digging errant minis out of gravel traps at Oulton Park, and that's a deep old gravel trap. I know that because I've trudged through it a couple of times before on a Marshall's Taste today, and very nearly fell flat on my face. It's not the easiest things to do to wander through one of those gravel traps, but Marshall's do it frequently. There's Lee Pattison. I did spot that he briefly left the pit lane, having pitted at the end of the opening lap. He limped round, went back out, but they clearly haven't entirely solved, or at all solved, the problem, because he's back in again now and appears to be a retirement. So too is Jack Davidson, apparently. He has pitted and not rejoined. He pitted at the end of the opening lap too. George Gallardo, we know, is out, and Max Bird as well. So we have 4 retirements in race 1. We've got 4 retirements at the moment in race 2. For the time being, they are not the same 4 drivers, though. Whilst we've got a safety car, I've got a chance to check whether or not Stuart Gibbs took the start, and the answer is yes, because he's 20th. So Stuart Gibbs, who was a non-starter in the previous race, has thankfully been able to get out there for this one. So your order, as you can see down the left-hand side of the screen, is Callum King from Jack Mabin from James Gornall, the top 3. This was not in the script for James Gornall. He was staring down the barrel of another race victory before Jack Mabin arrived on the scene and pinched that second place away from him. So it's King from Mabin from Gornall, and Nathan Harrison up into 4th place now with the demise of Bird, of course. So actually, Harrison is now only, well, he's no positions essentially behind his early championship rival James Gornall. That is good news. George Gallardo's car has been retrieved from the gravel and will be permitted to drive back to the pit lane on its own, under its own steam, traipsing gravel right on the racing line as it does so. But I suppose he had little choice really at the exit of Cascades Corner, and yes, that means that hopefully we will go racing once again at the end of the lap. We'll get through this top 10 in a moment. Harrison 4th, Zelos 5th, Keenan Doles 6th, then 7th position for Richard Newman. 8th is Callum Newsham, that's a decent drive from 11th on the grid. 9th place for Lewis Gayler and 10th for James Lukes. So they are your top 10 drivers. As for Lewis Brown, he is 12th, and actually this safety car, whilst ordinarily we would sort of be saying that this would benefit a quick driver coming from the back of the grid, but actually, because the top 10 cars or so were nose to tail anyway, it doesn't really help him. If anything, it takes away time in which he could have been overtaking people. So for Lewis Brown, the safety car boards and flags were probably not that welcome a sight, but the yellow machine, the 39 car, running down in 12th position, having started 4th on the grid for race 1. There he is, just coming back into shot now, and Lewis Brown, with more overtaking to be done, I think he should make the top 10, but I think his chances of a top 5 or 6 have probably now disappeared, I would say. So the lights are still out on the safety car for now. If they go out, which I suspect they will, it will be somewhere towards the top of Clay Hill or the entrance to Druids, and that will be the sign that we are about to go racing once again with, again, as I suspected, about 5 minutes left on the clock by the looks of it. There is Collado, just limping back home, but he will no longer be a part of this race. The good news is the car appears undamaged relatively, so he won't be greeted by too many grumpy mechanics, but they'll be disappointed that his second race of the weekend ended as it did. So the lights are now off on the safety car. 5 minutes, that equates to 2, maybe 3 laps. So what's a flying lap? Yeah, 1 minute 50, yes, we should get 3 laps in before the end. So we're looking at a 10-lap race, roughly, and this is the end of the 7th lap that they're coming to now. When does Callum King go? Well, fairly early is the answer. Jack Mabin not maybe quite as wide awake as he would have liked to have been there, and actually for the first time all race Callum King doesn't particularly have to watch his mirrors down towards Old Hall Corner, because that was a really savvy restart, and Callum King has already nearly a 3/4 of a second advantage over Mabin 2nd, Gornall 3rd, Harrison 4th, and Zelos creeping up the order into 5th place. Some shuffling going on further back. I think that was the 35 car of James Lukes trying to execute a move up the inside of Lewis Gayler for 9th position. Don't think that one quite paid off. Leaders at Cascades. You know how I said about 15 seconds ago that the leader had a 3/4 of a second advantage? Well, he doesn't anymore, because in the space of 2 corners, Jack Mabin has already started to eat into that advantage. He's bringing Gornall with him, and James is having a look at the inside of the island then, but was not fully alongside going into the corner, wasn't even remotely alongside, so sensibly backed out of that particular manoeuvre. Jack Mabin, though, will want to try and shake off the attentions of the first race winner so as to be able to concentrate a full attack on the race leader, and he's had a good exit from Shell, so he's going the right way about it. Gornall closes back in on King, who that much experience of leading safety car restarts on cold, slick tyres. Tyres that have lost all of their temperature and crucially all of their pressure during that safety car period. And indeed, he is having to defend once again down the hill, middle of the road, and then makes a tighter and tighter line into the corner. They're all stacking up against each other. There may well have been a bit of nose-to-tail contact between a couple of them there as they sort of entered the chicane a little bit more slowly than they were anticipating. Fourth place car is Nathan Harrison, incidentally. Second place in the championship last year, second place in the first race as well, and he now sees an opportunity to overtake James Gornall, which he probably didn't expect to be having early on in the race. And there's the move at Druids Corner, and Jack Mabin goes through. There's a touch, there's a lean. James Gornall follows him straight by, and unfortunately I think that Callum King is about to wave goodbye to his podium chances, because the whole lot are going to come through. Jack Mabin in forceful fashion takes the race lead away at Druids Corner. Gornall goes second, Harrison goes third, Zelos elbows his way through into fourth, and King's on the grass, and that means he'll be fifth or maybe sixth as they come across the start-finish line. What a shame for Callum King. He'd driven a brilliant defensive race until that point, but Jack Mabin has gone through. Now, can he fend off James Gornall, who has been the fourth man all weekend long? There's Callum King, who eventually wrestles his way back in line just ahead of Keenan Dole, so he will be fifth position by the looks of it. But he's got a bit of a gap now to the leading four. That gap may start to disappear, though, because Mabin, the leader, is driving around the inside of the circuit, practically trying desperately to keep James Gornall at bay. By my reckoning, there are 2 more laps of this to go. Can he hang on? It looks almost an impossible task, but the way in which he's overtaken drivers in this race shows that Jack Mabin is very comfortable in the car these days, and very rapid as well. Now, though, he has to watch the mirrors, and he'll be looking through the rear-view mirror almost more than he's looking through the windscreen at this stage, I would suspect, because there are 5 or 6 hungry mini-challenge drivers breathing down his neck through Britain's, which is almost a chance for him to relax slightly, but you can't really overtake through there. But your exit from the left-right-left flip-flop chicane will perhaps dictate whether or not you have to defend down into the next chicane. I don't think he will, actually. I think Gornall is far enough back that only the middle of the road is required for the race-leading car as a defensive line. Now Zelos, I made the point earlier on that he was picking his way steadily through the pack, and started 8th, he's already into 4th place, and actually is starting to apply the pressure to Nathan Harrison there. He's not far behind the number 27 car as they go over Clay Hill for the penultimate time. Indeed, yes, the leading 4 cars has won, with Callum King understandably, I think, starting to fade now slightly. Will he be able to hang on to a top 5? I wonder. Keenan Dole would rather hope that he won't be able to, because he is the man trying to take the 5th place away from him. James Gornall, that car did not look happy under braking, and I don't think James is going to be too happy with the way in which this race is developing, actually, because he's losing time to the race leader and has Nathan Harrison into the back of him as they went through the apex at Lodge Corner. 1 more lap of racing to go, and it's side by side for 3rd. In fact, Harrison, far from attacking Gornall, has to now try and fend off a fired up and very, very aggressive Dan Zelos. Dan tried to get the over-under there through Oulton, wasn't able to do it. Through Cascades they go again. Single file for the time being for the leaders. Lewis Brown, by the way, is now into the top 10 in the yellow number 39 car. He's into 10th place. He snatched that, I think, going into Oulton Corner that time around, but he was officially 10th at the line anyway. His next target will be James Lukes in the 35 car, who of course is not that far in front of him as a result of the fact we've fairly recently had this safety car period. So final lap of the race, Jack Mabin looking for the victory. For Gornall, a win would be nice, but given the fact that he's been rather embroiled in the battles in this race, maybe 2nd place is the more sensible option. He knows how to win championships. He's won in British GT, he's won in on-make BMW racing as well, and so he understands you don't have to win every race, but if you can be on the podium in every race, or almost all of them, that's a pretty good method for winning a championship, and that is something that he has proven time and time again over the years. I actually think this may well be not through choice that he's settling for 2nd, because Nathan Harrison is actually preventing Gornall from attacking for the race lead, and Harrison had a go at the inside at Knickerbrook then, which is a move that can work but almost always results in a little bit of side-to-side contact. I think Nathan backed out of it before contact was made, though. That all allows Jack Mabin to pull that crucial 4 or 5 car length advantage, and with now 1 corner still to go, it looks as though he is going to take a sensational victory here in the 2nd round of the 2019 Mini Challenge. The question is going to be who will join him on the podium and in what order, because as they go through Lodge Corner, James Gornall was having to really defend. He's a bit slow off the turn, and Nathan Harrison gets alongside him. Jack Mabin is going to take the 2nd victory of the year, but for 2nd place it's absolutely level. Gornall hangs on by a 10th and a half in the end, but Nathan Harrison gave it everything he had. Dan Zelos in 4th position, Callum King you know what, fifth's not a bad result, and he'll be disappointed to have lost out on a podium, but top 5 solid points early in the season for the ever-improving Callum King. Keenan Dole's 6th, then it's 7th place for Richard Newman, 8th place across the line Callum Newsham, 9th James Lukes, and Lewis Gamer 10th. Now what happened to Lewis Brown, because he was 10th at the line a lap ago and then dropped to 12th over the final lap? Out of the corner of my eye, I think I spotted a sideways yellow car at Old Hall Corner at the start of the lap, and I wonder whether or not that was Lewis. We may find out post-race, but that was an unfortunate end to what had been a pretty successful race, actually, considering that Lewis started 23rd on the grid, and he got himself briefly into 10th, within touching distance of 9th, but 12th it is at the flag. Jack Mabin, though, what a drive that was. He wasn't really a factor until about sort of half race distance, really, and then just started picking them off one by one and gets his first victory of the season and injects himself straight away into the championship battle. James Gornall will be happy with a win and a 2nd place, though. Nathan Harrison in 3rd, Dan Zelos 4th, Callum King in 5th position, and Keenan Dole 6th. Then it's Richard Newman, Callum Newsham, James Lukes and Lewis Gaylor to round out the top 10. Meanwhile, the fastest lap, by the way, went the way of Ben Palmer down in 13th place. It had been held by Lewis Brown, who came home 12th, until a couple of laps from the end, when Ben Palmer was able to take that fastest lap away from him. Harry Gooding rounds out the top 15. The retirements list is, again, 4 cars. George Collado brought out the safety car when he spun at Cascade. Max Bird pulled off moments afterwards down at Knickerbrook, whilst Lee Patterson had issues from the start, and so too did Jack Davidson, who likewise only completed a single lap. So, a fantastic second race of the day for the JCW cars in the Mini Challenge. It was a brilliant start made by Callum King to go from 3rd on the grid to lead into turn 1, whilst the red car of Lee Patterson faded immediately. Clearly a mechanical drama that affected him right from the word go. There was a scary moment at the end of the opening lap for the race leader Callum King, who ran wide at Druids and on several occasions had to get his elbows out to fend off a fired up James Gornall, who was looking for that double race victory. Lewis Brown was making progress using tarmac and a little bit of the Oulton Park scenery as well to move up the order. Moving up the order was exactly what Jack Mabin was doing, though. He made a brilliant move up the inside of Max Bird at Cascade, whilst Dan Zelos and Keenan Dole leant on each other at Old Hall, resulting in Keenan bouncing his way across the grass. George Collado rotated at Cascade and deposited himself in the gravel trap, bringing out the safety car, after which it was a 5-minute rush to the flag, in which the leading 7 cars were absolutely as one. The move was made at Druids, though, and Jack Mabin prized the door open and got through, and then successfully defended from James Gornall for the remainder of the race. Some fantastic racing here at Oulton Park. More of the same next time out.